Bonjour à tous, bienvenue sur United Rock Nations. Aujourd'hui, je suis avec Adam, aka Woody,
Hi, how you doing?
et Fabien
Bonjour.
de Polar, qui vont nous parler du prochain album Nova et de la tournée et des projets à suivre. Thank you guys for being with us here today on United Rock Nations. So, first question I want to ask you guys is probably a question that you get asked very often is, why did you choose Polar as a band name?
Well, it spans nearly 10 years ago now. Well, it is 10 years this year. There is no real meaning behind the word polar. We sat in a car park when we first got together as the group we are now, and we were literally looking at names, and we had an old band name that was about 1 million letters long, and it was very hard to pronounce, especially in the middle of a rock club when it's really loud. And we literally just came across the word polar, and we liked the way it sounded and liked the way it sort of looked written, and we just basically, it stuck, and here we are today.
Yeah, a lot of it did come from like a design point of view. So we wanted something that would look simple, easy to remember. When you say it to someone, it will stick in their head very simply, based on the fact, like Woody said, that our previous band name was very hard to remember. No one would remember it because it's quite long, and so you just wanted something very simple. Polar has 5 letters in it, so it always works. Do you know what I mean? Symmetrically on it as a design, and it's just kind of a strong word. There was nothing that you can't like about it, you know. So it just kind of and when we said it, it just kind of felt right, and it was just like, cool. Let's go with that, you know.
And it's also easy to pronounce in French, in English, in German,
It's the same everywhere.
all of different languages. So
You
that's
hear a different version each time. Like
okay.
Polar.
Polar. Yeah, in France we say polar.
Polar.
Polar. Yeah, that's also the name we give to thrillers. Thriller, we call them polar.
Oh,
as well.
really?
Yeah.
What, like a thriller film?
Yeah, like a thriller film or a thriller novel. We call them polar.
Okay.
Okay, that's.
We'll use that in our next interview.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting for you. Little fact for you guys. Okay, let's talk about Nova. It's your 4th album. It's coming out in April 5th. And it's also, we should mention, it's your first record with a Rising Empire and Nuclear Blast.
Yes, it is.
So, how did it come about? I mean, how did this deal come about?
The deal took a long time, and I think we sat back and we wanted to go to the right home. We wanted the right heads around the project, and through a lot of negotiations between mainly our management and the label, it just felt like the right place to take this record and the right place to call home. And they welcomed us with open arms. And yeah, we haven't looked back since. They've been a fantastic label. They've done loads for us already. They're very creative in what they do. They're an inspiring label. They've got a fantastic roster. So, you know, it was the perfect place to take our band.
So yeah, so essentially after our previous album on our previous label finished, we had to release like a bridge song, like an interim song, which was Breathe. So Breathe came out not on any label. And that was really the catalyst that started the cogs turning, you know, different labels being interested in it. So from there, we then recorded a couple of other songs, which then, you know, the 3 of those could then be, you know, that was our sort of, I guess, way in, wasn't it? You know, it's almost like you would demo stuff, you know, check out our band kind of vibe. But by this point, we had recorded 3 songs, 2 of which no one had ever heard. Breathe had been released, so that was our leverage to negotiate. And like Woody said, our manager negotiated it, and from there, you know, like you said, we've struck up a lovely relationship, and they're a great label, a place we can call home, and yeah, we're looking forward to actually releasing the album. And you know, the support they've given us so far already is you know, really good. It's great. It's good.
And see, it's interesting that you mentioned the fact about Breathe, because that was going to be one of my questions. I was wondering why did you release that song, but you basically answered that question already. So
Yeah.
There were a couple of meanings, or a couple of reasons, I should say. We needed to bridge the gap between records. So our previous record, No Cure, No Saviour, came out about 3 years ago now. We were about to do a tour with a band called Counterparts, and we hadn't released anything new. So we did the song. Not only was it there to kind of negotiate a new record deal, but it was also an opportunity to us to start putting out what we're becoming, the new sound, the new band, is so to speak. So yeah, we used it not only as a bridging gap between records and to get a deal, but a way to introduce people into the new sound. So, and a way for us to start putting stuff into our live set, so people could start getting familiar with it.
So, what is new about Nova from a sound, composition, working process perspective?
The new sound is basically we've taken lyrically and vocally, it's a very personal record, whereas previous records have been very worldly about everything that happens in the world that affects us as a band. We really looked at individual situations that we have all been through, and we built a whole record about that. We used it as a kind of a therapy, as a way to release the weight that we had been carrying about these situations. So there's songs about love, there's songs about abuse, there's songs about parenthood, there's songs about not giving up on love. So yeah, it was an opportunity for us to actually look inside ourselves and see what we needed to do to release a lot of pent up stress and anger. And that's where we went. With music, I think the best person to speak to would be Fab, because he did a lot of the music at the beginning of it.
Yeah, so I mean, one thing that sticks out to me that's different is the tuning of the instrumentation. It's detuned even further, so naturally that changes the way the songs sound. So they instantly become a touch heavier in terms of, you know, some of the riffs that we might play, because they're in a lower tuning. It gives them a slightly different feel, gives them a different dynamic. It makes them a bit heavier. There's still equal amounts of melody in there. You know, we're always going to have melody and choruses, things for the crowd to really latch onto and sing back to us. But yeah, like Woody said, the biggest difference is all the topics that we sing about on this album are things that have happened to each of us individually. Whereas the previous record was mainly to do with, well, it was strongly to do with homelessness that we had seen. A lot of all the artwork was to do with the homeless. A lot of shows that we performed at the beginning of that album cycle were in aid of the homeless charity Crisis, which is a big one, especially in the UK. And this time around, it was more about us. It wasn't about stuff that we noticed in the world that, you know, we had feelings on. This was about us and some of the topics Woody touched on there.
Okay, and when writing the lyrics, did you just gather all of you, and each of you would give one example of his life? That's something that he had, you know, troubles getting up with, or did you?
We've all had, I mean, the major two people in this record that have written a lot of the lyrics, I say the majority of the backbone would be myself and Fab. What we all kind of do is we go away and we write for ourselves at the time being, and then we put it together. I think that really helped mould the songs lyrically and vocally, because everyone had their input. There was something given by everyone to those songs. So although all the lyrics seemed to come from both of us, the whole band had a say and an idea about how they were going to be executed in the songs, how they should sound, how the melodies work. And I think that really pulls this record away from everything else, is that the melody is much more interesting, the melodies are more interesting, the choruses are bigger, and that's because there were 5 heads into that program and building that concept and that recording. But lyrically, we all kind of have our own little moments where we write stuff, but the majority is written by both of us here.
Yeah, so yeah, I mean, it's kind of linked to the previous question in terms of, you know, things that, you know, we had experienced. You know, there was things from a personal point of view that I had experienced, and I found that writing lyrics was the perfect way to, you know, just release it, but put it out there. There's certain songs that are, specifically about Woody's experiences. There's certain songs that are specifically about my experiences, and the other guys as well. There's bits that come in from everywhere. The final product that you hear now is everybody's input, and it feels great to actually have a record that you can listen to, and each time you listen to it, it strikes a chord inside where it's like, this means a lot to me, or this means a lot to Woody. The previous record meant a lot to all of us because we were singing about things that we didn't really agree with, etc. This feels a lot more not genuine isn't the right word.
Soul searching. It was
Soul-searching.
it was a real we really dug inside ourselves because it's hard for us. We've never written a personal record before, not this personal, and you've got to be very particular about what you put down in words and how it's said in order to create the image, the picture into someone else's head, or for someone else to relate to it. So we've really fine-tuned it. We were extremely critical with each other about what was going on the record, what worked, what didn't. So you had to grow a real layer of extra skin to kind of really take that criticism, but it was for the greater good to make the album as strong as it possibly could be.
And have you ever had people writing to you about how your songs help them overcome some of the personal issues they might have encountered in their own lives?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we've had a fair few of them over the years, and as the band gets bigger, they become more. So we've had all sorts. People do reach out to us and say how a certain song or whatever has helped them get through a hard time. We've had people that have met each other at our concerts specifically. They've gone on to become in a relationship. Some of them have got married, and it comes down to that first, where did they meet? Well, they met at a pub. So the band becomes important to them, and it's for us. It's very rewarding to get that sort of
Yeah, I guess so.
yeah.
So talking about the melodic and elements in the album, I was there are actually two songs that I really was interested in. Those songs are Amber and Dusk. They especially stand out because you have like very pop elements in them with a female singer.
Yes.
So that's kind of new for you, isn't it?
Well, Ellie Price is her name. She has been working on records with us since 2014. She is like the sixth member of our band. Unfortunately, you just don't get to see her on stage. She's been on the last 3 records, and she's added elements. She's had her own song on Shadowed by Vultures, but this time we had written a bit more of a pop structure on some of the songs, and it just worked with having her voice on it, and having her at the forefront of some of the songs, and then a lot of the songs she's just behind me. But she adds an incredible element, and she really makes the melodic parts really pop out and really shine. She's a phenomenal musician, very good ear for not just music and melodies, but for playing some of the keyboard parts and some of the synths. That's her as well. She adds such a great texture to our music.
Yeah, I mean, like Woody said, she's actually been on our last 3 records. So the last 2, she's essentially sung on every single song.
Okay.
You can't necessarily hear her directly, but she sings on every single chorus, just underneath Woody.
Right. But this time she's at the forefront.
Yeah, I mean, on Shadow of Vultures, which was 2 albums ago, she had, like you said, she had her own song, which you both sort of duetted on, essentially. That was our first experience of meeting Ellie. Was she came into the studio because we just wanted a female voice, and our producer at the time said, well, I've got the perfect person. So in she came, she sung the song, and that was the beginning of the relationship with Ellie. And now, we just wanted to continue using her. She, like Woody said, she's the 6th member of the band. Okay. She's a very good friend of ours, and very talented. Like say, the piano she does. And yeah, we'll continue to use her as long as she'll have us.
As long as she's willing, yes.
Okay. let's take a closer look to the two songs that you guys released, and there are music videos for each of these songs. Those songs are called Drive and Midnight. So would you like to comment on those two songs? Let's start with Drive.
Drive is a love song. It's about meeting. I would probably pass this one over to Fab a bit more because it's his lyrical
Okay.
content. So when we wrote the song and the music was done, it was one of the last songs on the Nova recordings. Fab had already written out a whole sort of song, so your verse, your chorus, and it just clicked into place. It just made sense. I think Fab will be able to give you a bit of a stronger meaning about it. But the lyrics and the song just kind of met hand in hand and really worked well together.
Yeah, I mean, it's strange because the difference between Drive and Midnight are so opposite. Like, Midnight took quite a long time to get the song, to the finished point. Whereas Drive, it was actually Tom and Johnny that wrote the music to that, and I think they wrote it in like an hour, from start to finish. The whole song musically was done. Sometimes there's songs that just come out, they write themselves, and it just started, and it was just so natural. And then, like what he said, I had, a whole bunch of lyrics, and it just fit perfectly, and the melody just came out on its own, and whereas Midnight and some other songs, it takes a bit more, working out, moving stuff around, adjusting a few parts. So the two songs are really quite opposite in terms of how we got to the finished article. Drive is about a love story. It's two people that meet, and just really, a different topic really for us, and probably for maybe many heavier bands. And then Midnight is a lot more Woody's topic.
Yeah, it's darker. It's obviously based on a situation I was in when I was 15, which there was a sexual assault with an older girl, which was against my will, and the whole of Midnight tells the story of how that happened. If you look into the lyrics, it's very dark. It kind of follows the whole sequence right through to the end. But I like the fact that what we've done is we've written the first single being Drive is quite a bright, uplifting song, and the second song being Midnight is much darker, much rawer, and I think that kind of fits the whole dynamic of the new album. Is the fact that there is a lot of brightness, but to all the brightness there's a lot of darkness.
Okay, so you got like both sides,
Yes.
brighter side and the darker side.
Which kind of sums up a lot of our music quite well. There's always the heaviness, but there's also always the nice melodic, equally sometimes heavy, but heavy with melody. And then you've got the heavy, the beautiful sort of piano parts. There's always melody, there's always heaviness, and it's that light and dark, like with the artwork.
Yeah, with the RG split, and it gives two sides. There's always two sides. I think that's definitely something that we've looked at on this album, is that there are two sides to everything. To all the darkness, there's always a light, and to all the light, there is always going to be darkness. So they complement each other very well.
And I especially liked what you did with the RGB layers on the Drive's music video, which I mean it takes a strong link with the album artwork.
Yeah. Well, we need to thank Tom Green, our guitarist. He, not that video, but the whole RG split really came from himself. We had an idea for artwork, and he really took that idea and made it come to life. He actually added the RG split, and it got passed to the rest of us. We all saw it, and it instantly sort of grabbed us because it really comes alive. It's almost having like a 3D effect without having 3D glasses. The artwork has its own life form to it. It's not just music; it's music and art put together, which I think is what we've really tried to make this record about.
There's one question that I had also is that I was curious because all the songs in the album have one-word titles. So was it like by chance, or did you guys did that on purpose? I guess you did.
Yeah, it was totally on purpose. It was a structured decision to be like, we want everything to be one word. We've had quite long album names. We've had quite long song names. This time, you know, when you're about to embark on a brand new album, and you just say, guys, what do you want to do? You know, like, what do we do? And this was just one of those little decisions that we were like, yeah, just make every song name one word, the album title one word, simple.
It's one of the hardest things we've ever done is having single words. It's easier to write a song title when you've got a lot of words put together or to make a meaning, but when you have one word that has to portray a whole song, it's very difficult. But I think as well, what that shows our band becoming is a little bit more maturity. There's a little bit more thought going into it. And that's something we definitely wanted to show in Nova, was the fact that we are still the same band, but we're growing a bit older, we're getting a bit more mature in what we like and what we do musically, and part of that was choosing the one word song titles, was just to show that extra sort of twist in maturity.
All right.
Well picked up, by the way. No one else has picked up.
Yeah, I was intrigued. You're welcome. You're welcome. All right, so you guys are gonna go on a European tour for the album release. So you guys are gonna be playing in the UK, obviously, but in Germany as well. Do you guys plan on going to play in France soon?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, you know, if we had it our way, we would play everywhere. You know, there's a lot of places that we've still never been to. So yeah, this is just this particular tour. Whenever we announce a tour, there's always the question that comes up. Oh, you know, you're not playing in Scotland, or you're not playing in, you know, Australia or whatever. And it's like, you know, you obviously can't get everywhere in one, but there will definitely be some more shows.
We would like to do something like actually concentrate on France and make it a bit more regional. We've always hit kind of the same spots, which are like Paris. We've done quite a lot in Lyon in the past. We would like to do France, you know, make it a bit expansive in doing it, not just do 2 shows or 1 show, actually go as far afield as possible and go to all these other places. So that would, in our eyes, and if it does plan out, that would be the plan, is to actually make France a tour of its own, not just hit Paris and then move on, but actually be in France for a long time and actually play as many shows as possible.
Yeah, I mean, there's over the years we have done a few shows around France, like Lyon, Marseille, Montpellier, Paris, obviously Nantes. You know, the list goes on. But yeah, like you say, I think we would like to concentrate a bit more on France and Spain, Portugal. You know, this sort of side, a bit more of Italy as well, because a lot of it is concentrated on the UK and Germany. You know, a touch of Switzerland, Belgium. Austria, you know, so yeah, just spreading it further afield.
Okay, we hope to see you guys pretty soon.
Yeah,
Yeah, we hope so.
Okay, guys, if you have last words to say to your French fans.
I'll say it in English, but thank you very much for everyone that supported us over the whole journey. I hope you love and adore Nova as much as we do, and I'll let Fab say some words in your native tongue.
Merci beaucoup de suivre le groupe et on va te voir bientôt un concert et merci beaucoup pour tout.
Thank you, guys. Thanks a lot. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Lovely. Thank you, mate.
Thank you.
Appreciate that.